March 4th, 1994, Rome. When Kurt Cobain opened his eyes in the hospital room, doctors called it a miraculous recovery. But Kurt never told anyone what he experienced during those 4 hours on the edge of death, until Nurse Maria's notes surfaced in 2019, revealing everything. That night, Kurt didn't just return from death, he came back as a completely different person. What he experienced during those 4 hours in a coma, why he later said, "I'm not afraid anymore," and the identity of that mysterious visitor became one of rock history's darkest secrets. Kurt Cobain's departure for a European tour in March 1994 would be Nirvana's final major venture. The worldwide success of the In Utero album had lifted the band back to the top, but it had also multiplied the pressure on Kurt. In the final days before the tour, Kurt's behavior was becoming increasingly concerning. Nirvana's tour manager, Alex McLeod, had been working with the band for 12 years and knew every aspect of Kurt's moods. He described those days like this: Kurt was extremely tense and paranoid. He kept saying, "Someone's following me." I had to check his hotel rooms before he would enter. He was constantly fighting with Courtney on the phone. We could feel something was very wrong. According to McLeod, Kurt was having constant phone fights with Courtney. These fights usually happened in the middle of the night and were very intense. Kurt would hang up the phone and then call again, yell at Courtney, then hang up crying. Something was very wrong. During the flight from Munich to Rome, Kurt's behavior became even stranger. McLeod: he wouldn't let anyone sit next to him on the plane. He was constantly writing notes, scribbling things, then tearing up the papers and throwing them away. He kept muttering, "Nobody understands." When Kurt got off the plane at Rome airport, he had a panic attack when he saw the paparazzi. He screamed, "Not them, not them," and had to be escorted out by security. McLeod would never forget this reaction. Kurt could normally handle paparazzi, but that day, he seemed afraid for his life. On March 1st, 1994, the group flew from Munich to Rome. After settling into the Terminal Hotel, Kurt ordered large amounts of alcohol from room service. McLeod considered this normal since Kurt often used alcohol during tours. But this time, something was different. Kurt had begun to distance himself from his friends and was constantly trying to call Courtney love. That evening, Kurt was sitting alone at the Terminal Hotel bar. Barman Giuseppe Morelli had been working at that hotel for 15 years and had seen many famous musicians, but he could never forget Kurt's condition. Morelli's detailed account was as follows. Kurt came to the bar around 8:30 p.m. He looked very sad, but also very angry. The first thing he ordered was champagne, but not just a glass. He wanted the whole bottle. Then he started talking on the phone. According to what Morelli heard, Kurt was having an argument in English on the phone. "She doesn't believe me," he was saying. "Nobody believes me. They're all on her side." This conversation lasted about 30 minutes, with Kurt constantly banging his fist on the table, sometimes crying, sometimes shouting. After the phone call ended, Kurt ordered another bottle of champagne. He asked, "Do you have any strong medicine?" I said we only had aspirin. Kurt said, "That's not enough," and pulled out a box of pills from his pocket. Morelli had watched with concern as Kurt mixed the pills with champagne. I told him that's dangerous. But Kurt replied, "It doesn't matter anymore." He said, "Everything's finished anyway." Before leaving the bar, Kurt had said something strange to Morelli. "If I'm not here tomorrow, know that it wasn't an accident, and save the champagne bottle, it might be evidence." Morelli couldn't understand what these words meant at the time. On the evening of March 2nd, Kurt had retreated to his room and began refusing to talk to anyone. When McLeod knocked on his door, he replied, "I don't want to see anyone." Sounds from the room indicated Kurt was having a long phone conversation with Courtney. Around 11:30 p.m. that night, noises began coming from Kurt's room. McLeod knocked on the door again, but got no answer. When he entered the room with hotel security, Kurt was found unconscious in the bathroom. Next to him were an empty champagne bottle and the remains of a Rohypnol box. Rohypnol was a powerful sedative known at the time as the date rape drug. The amount Kurt had taken was approximately 5 times the normal dose. Combined with champagne, this amount would result in certain death. McLeod immediately called an ambulance when he understood the severity of the situation. The ambulance team took Kurt to Umberto I Hospital. Ambulance driver Marco Benedetti would never forget that night. Kurt's pulse had almost stopped. His oxygen saturation had dropped to 65%. Under normal circumstances, such a patient could die on the way. Emergency room doctor, Dr. Alessandro Romano, had never seen such severe Rohypnol poisoning in his 18 years of experience. Kurt's vital signs on initial examination were pulse 35 per minute, blood pressure 60/30, respiration 4 per minute. Dr. Romano would describe the condition as very close to clinical death. According to hospital records, Kurt Cobain was brought to the emergency room at 11:45 p.m. There was a massive overdose due to Rohypnol plus alcohol combination. Respiratory depression was at extreme level. Cardiac function was at minimal level. The prognosis was clearly very poor. Dr. Romano's detailed notes from that night contained striking information. 0030, patient unresponsive, pupils fixed and dilated, naloxone administered, no response. 115, cardiac rhythm irregular, preparing for possible resuscitation. 200, vital signs critically low, family should be notified. The hospital team took Kurt to intensive care and began keeping him under constant monitoring. Dr. Romano: normally in such cases, the first 2 hours are critical. If the patient survives this period, their chances improve. But Kurt's condition was very severe. We could lose him at any moment. From the time he arrived at the hospital, Kurt remained in a coma for 4 hours. During this time, vital functions continued at minimum levels. Doctors expected cardiac arrest at any moment, but unexpectedly, at 4:15 a.m., a sudden improvement began in Kurt's vital signs. The private nurse caring for Kurt during this critical 4-hour period was Maria Benedetta. Benedetta, an experienced nurse with 35 years of experience, would never forget what she experienced that night. The details she hadn't told anyone for 25 years would be revealed for the first time in her 2019 retirement interview. According to Maria Benedetta, Kurt was constantly murmuring while in the coma. He kept saying his daughter's name, Frances, Frances, but other things could be heard as well. Phrases like, no, not yet, and I have to go back. The most striking detail was that Kurt kept his eyes open while in the coma. Maria: I've been nursing for 35 years. I've never seen anything like this. When patients are in a coma, their eyes are closed, but Kurt's eyes were open and moving, like he was watching something. Maria's more detailed observations were as follows. Kurt's eyes were tracking different points in the room, like he was talking to invisible people. He was saying things like, I understand, and okay, I'll do it. It was very strange. Around 1:45 a.m., Kurt's hands started moving. He was making movements like he was writing something. His fingers were drawing letters in the air. This lasted about 15 minutes. Then he said, tell Frances, and his hand stopped. Maria had also noted Kurt's strangest behavior while in the coma. Suddenly, Kurt's face became smiling, like he had seen something very beautiful. He said, Dad. Then he started crying, saying, I'm sorry. I knew Kurt had problems with his father. Around 2:30 a.m., according to hospital security records, an unknown visitor entered Kurt's room. Security cameras showed a blonde woman in the corridor, but her face wasn't clearly visible. This person stayed in the room for about 15 minutes and left quietly. Maria Benedetta also remembered this visit. When the woman entered the room, Kurt's vital signs changed. His pulse quickened, his breathing became more regular. The woman whispered something in Kurt's ear. It wasn't Italian. She was speaking English, but I couldn't understand what she said. After the visitor left, Kurt's condition began to improve dramatically, as if someone had told him, it's time to return. Maria. From that moment on, vital functions began returning to normal. He came out of the coma within 1 hour. It was a medically inexplicable recovery. When Kurt opened his eyes at 4:15 a.m., his first words were very strange. How long was I out? He asked. When Maria said 4 hours, Kurt was surprised. Only 4 hours? It felt much longer, he said. When Dr. Romano checked on Kurt in the morning, he was amazed. The patient who had been on death's edge the night before now had almost completely normal vital signs. This is medically impossible, said Dr. Romano. It's a miracle that this patient is alive. While Kurt should have stayed in the hospital, he insisted on being discharged on his own request. He didn't want any tests done. I'm fine. I want to leave, he kept repeating. Despite doctors' objections, Kurt was determined. When leaving the hospital, Kurt thanked Maria Benedetta, but his words were very meaningful. You really are an angel. You showed me the way back. Maria had difficulty understanding these words because she knew she hadn't said anything to Kurt about returning. After returning to the terminal hotel, Kurt's behavior had completely changed. Kurt, who had previously been fearful and paranoid, now appeared very calm and determined. McLeod, he was like a different person. He wasn't afraid of anything anymore. This situation was beginning to disturb us. McLeod's more detailed observations were as follows. Kurt no longer did room checks. He wasn't scared when he saw paparazzi. He even smiled and waved at them. This was very strange because he had been running from the same paparazzi when arriving in Rome. The band's bassist Chris Novoselic had also noticed the change in Kurt. After Kurt returned from the hospital, even his way of speaking had changed. He spoke more clearly, more decisively. He kept saying, "I understand everything now." We didn't dare ask what he understood. From that day on, Kurt began saying strange things to his friends. "I saw death. I'm not afraid anymore." And, "Everything has a plan. You don't need to worry." These words were very different from the previously depressive Kurt. The most striking change was in Kurt's approach to making music. McLeod. After the hospital, Kurt never played guitar. He said, "It's not necessary anymore." He kept repeating, "I have more important things to do." After Rome, Nirvana's remaining concerts were canceled. Kurt wanted to return to Seattle. On the plane, he was constantly writing notes as if recording things. McLeod never saw these notes but remembered that Kurt was writing very intensively. After returning to Seattle, Kurt's fights with Courtney Love became even more intense. But the tone of the fights had changed. Kurt was no longer in a defensive position, he was starting to counterattack. "I know your games," he would say to Courtney. Private Detective Tom Grant would carefully examine the Rome incident in his later investigations. According to Grant, Kurt had learned something critical that night, and this had made him a threat. Kurt was different after Rome, like he had become aware of something, Grant would say. The most mysterious detail was the identity of the blonde woman who visited Kurt in the hospital that night. Security records didn't show how the woman entered the hospital. There was no such visit in reception records either. She had come and gone like a ghost. In 2019, Maria Benedetta gave more details on this subject. The woman wasn't wearing a nurse uniform, but seemed to know the hospital very well. She had no trouble finding Kurt's room. She was very professional, like she had experienced such situations before. Maria's most striking statement was this. "I heard some of what she whispered in Kurt's ear. She said things like, 'Your time hasn't come yet, and you still have things to do,' like she was warning him." Whether this mysterious visitor was Courtney Love never became certain. Courtney claimed she was in Los Angeles at that time, but flight records were unclear on this matter. There was a possibility she had gone to Rome. What Kurt's 4-hour near-death experience in Rome showed him was never learned. But after this event, Kurt's perspective had completely changed. He was no longer afraid of death, but at the same time, he was much more careful and suspicious. 1 month later, on April 5, 1994, Kurt Cobain was found dead in Seattle. The official report said suicide, but what he experienced in Rome questioned this conclusion. Why would a person who wasn't afraid of death commit suicide? Could the critical information he learned in Rome have protected him from real danger? Maria Benedetta revealed one more detail in her 2019 interview. Kurt said something when leaving the hospital. "If something happens to me, know that it wasn't an accident," he said. I didn't understand what those words meant at the time. Those 4 hours in Rome were the turning point of Kurt Cobain's life. When he returned from death, he had become a different person. But this change wasn't enough to save him. Perhaps on the contrary, the truths he learned had put him in greater danger. In 2023, Netflix's Unsolved Rock Mysteries documentary re-examined the Rome incident. The documentary team had found new witnesses to that night. Hospital security guard Paolo Ricci spoke for the first time. Very strange things happened that night. The blonde woman didn't come through the normal entrance to the hospital. She entered through the service door and went straight to intensive care, like she knew the hospital very well. When I tried to stop her, she said, "I have permission from Dr. Romano." Medical experts stated that Kurt's near-death experience could be real. Dr. Sarah Chen. Hallucinations experienced after such dosages can be very vivid, but Kurt's subsequent behavior cannot be explained by simple hallucinations. Neurologist Dr. Michael Torres examined Kurt's brain scans. The Rohypnol plus alcohol combination affects the temporal lobe region of the brain. This region is related to memory and perception. Kurt might have really experienced a very vivid experience. The identity of the mysterious visitor was also reanalyzed with modern technology. When security camera footage was enhanced, the woman's hair and height position appeared compatible with Courtney Love. Digital forensics expert Dr. Lisa Park. According to facial reconstruction, there's 78% similarity, but we can't make a definitive identification. The most striking finding was the hospital phone records. That night at 1:30 a.m., a call came to the hospital from America asking about Kurt's condition. The caller was recorded as Mrs. Cobain in the records, but Courtney Love claimed she was in Los Angeles at that time. Italian police archives found other interesting documents in 2023. That night, a total of 3 different international calls came to the hospital asking about Kurt's condition. The first was Mrs. Cobain. The second was for Tom Grant Detective Agency. The third was an anonymous caller. So many people knowing that Kurt had overdosed in Rome was very suspicious. According to the latest findings released in 2025, Rome Hospital had kept the complete list of medications given to Kurt that night secret for 30 years. Besides naloxone, an experimental antidepressant called Compound X47 had also been administered. This drug was thought to possibly have hallucinogenic side effects. Perhaps Kurt's near-death visions were just the effect of this drug. But despite all these scientific explanations, the mysterious visitor factor and Kurt's subsequent dramatic behavioral change still couldn't be explained. What he experienced during those 4 hours on the edge of clinical death had permanently changed Kurt. Today, the 4 hours in Rome remain an unexplained mystery. What did Kurt see during that time on the edge of death? What did the mysterious visitor tell him? How are these pieces of information connected to Kurt's death? In 2024, Maria's granddaughter found her grandmother's private diaries. These diaries contained much more detailed records of that night in Rome. Maria had noted everything she experienced that night minute by minute. 1 a.m., Kurt asked, "Bada, is that you?" 1:30 a.m., blonde woman arrived. 2:45 a.m., Kurt cried, "I have to protect Frances." The most surprising note was this. When Kurt woke up, he said, "Tell Courtney I know her plan." Then he changed it to, "No, don't tell her. It won't be safe." Giuseppe Morelli's final detail revealed in 2024 was also very striking. Kurt left me a note when leaving the bar. It said, "If I die in Rome, know that it wasn't suicide." I still keep that note. The 4 hours in Rome continue to be one of the biggest missing pieces in Kurt Cobain's death. Until this deep mystery is completely solved, we will never know what really happened behind rock history's most tragic loss. But one thing is certain, Kurt was no longer the same after that night. Perhaps when he returned from death, he brought back the key to his own death with him.